temperature feels like it's getting colder pretty quick. Snow on the horizon potentially. And what did I read today? How about this one? More news about geopolitical stuff in terms of drones coming from China and all that, huh? This one here says, EU to press China over drones for Russia, warns of consequences. As it says here, the EU will press Beijing for answers over reports that a China-based company is producing military drones for use in Russia's war against Ukraine, a senior EU official said Friday, saying, quote, "We have had reports from intelligence sources on the existence of a factory inside China producing drones which are shipped to Russia," said the senior EU official, granted anonymity to speak on the sensitive matter. The official said that the EU has to determine whether Beijing knew about the firm's activities and whether the production of the drones amounted to, quote, "direct cooperation on military equipment between China and Russia. If we finally confirm there's a transfer of drones, then that will have consequences," added the official, who declined to spell out what those consequences would be. The comments come more than a month after Reuters first reported on the drone factory hint at a hardening stance toward China in the wake of Donald Trump's re-election as US president. That's actually something that's been coming up a lot too, with the election in the US and the new changeover coming. Apparently there's going to be people that are going to be more harsh in terms of trade and so forth when it comes to places like China anyways. So it makes you wonder too whether or not companies are going to try to rush out all their productions during this time before, I guess, the changeover happens. And that actually might not be too far-fetched, because companies like DJI, as you know, they're in a lot of heat in the US of potentially being banned, and it seems like they're actually being really aggressive. I know obviously they have drones coming out like the Mavic 4, but as well it seems like they're really pushing other stuff out like mini microphones as well as gimbal stabilizers. So it makes you wonder if that's the reason why they're pushing stuff really quickly at this moment, it seems like anyways. But as they say in this story too, can you actually prove that they knew what was going on versus just someone else doing their own thing? And then once they found out, then they took action, for example. I mean, that might be difficult to prove unless they have real concrete proof anyways. And with that thought, again, all this geopolitical stuff with drones in China, some companies may potentially be benefiting from it a lot. Like how about Skydio? This is kind of interesting too. Reading here, it says, drone manufacturer Skydio raises $170 million extension round. It says American drone manufacturer Skydio has raised an extension round of $170 million, adding to the $230 million Series E it closed early last year. The new tranche of funding brings in strategic investors like Japanese telecom operator KDDI and Axon, the creator of the Taser and other police tech. It also includes previous investors like Lens Capital, which owns more than 21% of the drone maker. The new funding comes at a time when defense tech funding is booming, with deals in the sector receiving over $9.1 billion in the first half of 2024, according to PitchBook, saying, quote, "Frankly, no brainer for us to invest in," said Lens Capital Managing Director Bastien Jamat, "because we're getting in at the same valuation even though the business has doubled." TechCrunch viewed a pitch deck prepared this summer by Lens Capital for a potential Series F round, which showed the investor eyeing a $200 million to $300 million raise at the Series E's $2.2 billion valuation. As you know too, they recently exited the consumer business because, I guess, kind of like what's implied here, there's a lot more contracts and growth potential for companies to take over that space for military, for example, and all that. Although an interesting thing about Skydio, apparently in recent times, they bought out GoPro's drone patents and so forth, like with that karma, and it makes you wonder, why would you do that? Are they intending to get back into the consumer drone space, for example? But either way, with all, again, these geopolitical stuff, which company is going to come out ahead? And speaking of drones, there should be about 1,000 of them in the air today.
cave people.
Alright, see you guys later.